Hey guys, it is Wednesday. I hope you guys are all doing well. Last night during youth, we were talking about the story of Jesus calming the storm. And how the disciples were terrified. They were afraid. They didn't have a whole lot of faith in who Jesus was and what he could do. And so they were scared. And yet Jesus calmed the storm. He was not worried. He was not scared at all. The seeming dangers that the disciples were perceiving were nothing to him. And I challenge you guys to take a piece of paper and write down all of the things that you are fearful of right now. Whether that is health concerns, financial concerns, relationship concerns, mental sanity concerns, anything that is causing you to be afraid during this pandemic and this quarantine. And then on the opposite side of that paper, to write down all the things that you have seen God doing that are awesome and amazing and just awe-inspiring. And then to spend this week praying over the things that you are fearful of and giving those to God and asking Him to basically write faith over your fears and to give you a security and a peace and a calm that you can't achieve on your own, but that He gives you. And so if you haven't done that yet, I'd really encourage you guys to go ahead and go do that right now before you watch the rest of the video or before you do anything else. Go write those things down and then spend some time praying about them. Today, though, I wanted to go on a little bit farther in Luke chapter 8 and see what happens after this whole story of Jesus calming the storm. So there's a few stories that follow this, and the one today is going to be about Jesus casting out the demons out of this man. We're not going to read the whole story. It's just quite a few verses. But the gist of it is that they get to the other side of the lake and they encounter a demon-possessed man. This guy is crazy. He's been possessed for a long time. And as it turns out, when Jesus asks the demon's name, it replies with, "We are legion," implying and stating that there are many, many, many demons possessing this man, not just a single one. It states that he has lived in the countryside, out in the graves, that he runs around naked, that he's insane, that sometimes the people of the town have tried to chain him and bind him up, and he breaks those chains. He's given the supernatural strength by these demons, and he breaks the chains, and no one can contain him, and he's just this crazy, nuts, possessed man running around. And Jesus encounters him, and he heals him. He casts the demons out. It's kind of a weird back and forth that happens between the demons and Jesus, where they ask if they can go into a herd of pigs instead of just being cast out to hell. And Jesus allows that, which we'll read here in a second. And the pigs immediately go jump off the cliff into the lake and drown. And so let's go ahead and pick up in Luke chapter 8, starting here in verse 32. And this is what it says. "Now, a large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside, and they, being the demons, begged him to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. And then the demons came out of the man and entered the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. And when the herdsmen saw what had happened, they fled, and they told it in the city and in the country. And then people went out to see what had happened, and they came to Jesus and found the man from whom the demons had gone. And he was sitting at the feet of Jesus. He was clothed, and he was in his right mind, and they were afraid." Now, we'll stop right there. So, demons come out of this man. Jesus casts the demons out of this man. And the herdsmen who own the pigs, they go running around, they tell everyone in the city what had happened, and all these people come out to see what's going on. Something crazy is happening. That tends to be what happens when Jesus is around, is something happens. Something big is happening. And so they come out to see what's happening, and they see this demon-possessed man. This man who for years and years and years has been nuts, has been the terror and the fright of the city and the country, who couldn't be bound, who was insane, who was naked. And he's sitting in his right mind, clothed, calm, just sitting at Jesus' feet. And it says, and the people were afraid. Now that word afraid there, as we talked about yesterday, it can mean fear, but it also means kind of wonder and awe. they were seeing something that they didn't understand, and they were amazed by it. And it kind of threw them off. And so they were a little bit afraid by it too. But primarily, they were amazed. This crazy demon-possessed, insane, naked man was now fully clothed, fully rational, fully sane, and he was calm and he was free of demons. And then it goes on. Verse 36. It says, and those who had seen it told them how the demon-possessed man had been healed. And then all of the people of the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked him to depart from them, him being Jesus, for they were seized with great fear. So he got into a boat and returned. Now, where it talks about great fear here, this is talking about that fear of being scared, being afraid, being terrified. So they came and they saw the demon-possessed man healed, and they were amazed. Kind of freaked out a little bit, but they were amazed by it. And then they heard how he was healed, and they heard how Jesus had power over the demons, and they got scared. They were scared of what they didn't understand. They were scared of Jesus' power. They didn't know how he was able to do this, and they wanted him gone. Sort of in the same way that the disciples were both amazed by Jesus' power over the wind and the waves, and also terrified by it. Like, what kind of a person is this? Who is this? The people of this city were both amazed and terrified by what Jesus did and how he cast out the demons and how he healed this man. And then it finishes up here. And says, the man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, return to your home and declare how much God has done for you. And he went away proclaiming throughout the whole city how much Jesus had done for him. So right here, you see this guy. He has received new life. We've talked about this a lot in the last few weeks, but this is what God does. This is what Jesus does, is he takes death, he takes destruction, he takes old and corrupt and broken, and he makes it new. And he gives new life. And that is what he gave to this demon-possessed man, who had been not in control of his body and his mind for who knows how long. And he gave him freedom, and he gave him new life, a brand new lease on life. He could go out and do what he'd never been able to do before. And he wanted to follow Jesus. He wanted to follow his Savior and his healer. And Jesus says, no, I want you to stay here. I want you to go back to your family, go back to your town, and tell them what has happened. In some ways, to alleviate the fears that they have. Explain to them that this has happened because of God's love for you and because of God's power, and not out of anything terrifying. He wants him to go back and tell the world who God is. And so there's a few things, guys, that I just want to highlight in this. And the first is just, again, that idea of fear and fear. Of fear being terrified and fear being in awe. We should be in awe of God's power. It should amaze us. It should floor us because of how amazing it is. But we should not be terrified where we want him gone. We may not understand it, and often what we don't understand, we fear. But God's power is beyond anything that we're possibly going to understand, but it's something that we want. We want it with us. We want it next to us. Don't fear God in the sense of being terrified of him. Fear him in the sense of being amazed by him and wanting to experience more of him. And then secondly, sometimes God's plan for us is not what our plan is. Here, this demon-possessed man, he wants to follow Jesus. And Jesus says, no, I want you to go back and do something different. We need to follow God's plan for us. Even if our plan is good, we need to follow where God is sending us so that we can help the world around us embrace who he is and not be afraid of him, but to understand his love and his power. So, with that, guys, we're going to be done for today, and I will see you tomorrow. We'll have a couple more verses going on in Luke here. So, see ya.